Welcome to the VATAS Supervisors and TL Approvers Training. VATAS is the VA's time and attendance system. This training is being brought to you by the VATAS Transition Team from the Financial Services Center in Austin, Texas. What is VATAS? Well, as I just said, VATAS is the VA's time and attendance system. VATAS is replacing ETA, the Enhanced Time and Attendance System. Many facilities call ETA IFCAP or VISTA. If you're used to using one of those terms, just know that we're all kind of talking about the same system, and VATAS is replacing the time and attendance feature of that old system, of the Enhanced Time and Attendance System. VATAS is web-based. What that means is it works just like any other website out there. Simply use your mouse to point and click. It is much easier to navigate than VISTA. You do have to be behind the VA's firewall to access VATAS. That is a common question that we get asked in the supervisor trainings. And so again, you do have to be behind the VA firewall to access VATAS. VATAS is centralized and standardized. What that means is that with VISTA, there was actually over 150 VISTA systems throughout the VA. What that means is anytime they needed to put a patch or a fix into that VISTA system, they had to do it for all 150 plus systems. Not only is that very expensive for the VA, it is very time consuming for the VA. With VATAS, it's one system, one policy, one update. Everyone is on a level playing field. What are the benefits to employees? VATAS tracks the status of leave and premium pay requests. And real quick, I would like to define premium pay requests. When you hear those three words together in VATAS, premium pay request, that is a request that only the timekeeper can submit for the employee to be paid things such as overtime or comp time for travel. Those are just a few examples. The reason I differentiate this is because I know in many of the medical facilities, when they hear the term premium pay, they automatically think of the Saturday and Sunday premiums, the night diff. And they're exactly right. Those are premiums. But when you again hear those three words together in VATAS, premium pay request, we now all know that is a request that only the timekeeper can submit. What's nice about VATAS, and this is a difference from VISTA, when that leave and when that premium pay are approved, they will automatically post themselves to the timesheet. In VISTA, the timekeepers not only had to request leave and premium pay, but they also then had to post it onto the time cards. In VATAS, again, once it is approved, it will automatically post. This cuts out on a lot of human error. VATAS improves accountability and has built-in validation checks. What that means is there are no more exceptions in the way you know of exceptions now. And I'll explain in just a moment what is required to not have those exceptions going forward. VATAS reduces costly error-prone manual processes. For example, comp time for travel in VISTA is currently kept on the side. It's in an Excel spreadsheet or a notebook, but in VATAS it will be official and it will be kept in the system. There will be no manual tracking any longer. Everything will be official and everything will be in the system. VATAS provides real-time data, and we have drastically simplified and made the corrected timesheet process much more transparent. In VISTA, the corrected timesheet process was very lengthy. Corrected time cards had to be certified by 2 levels of supervisors, and they then had to go to payroll, where payroll had to manually make the changes in what is called the DSIPS system. Well, in VATAS, the process is that the timekeeper makes and creates the corrected timesheet, the timekeeper validates the corrected timesheet, and the supervisor certifies the corrected timesheet. That is it. For one, payroll is completely cut out of the equation, and you no longer need that second level certifier to also certify the corrected time cards. When we are out traveling to the different medical facilities, that is one of the most common reasons that we hear for why it takes so long to get corrected time cards done in VISTA, is that a lot of time is spent trying to find that second level supervisor to do the second level certification of those corrections. And again, in VATAS, you will only need one level of supervisor to certify the corrected timesheets. How does VATAS work? Here is an overview with all of the key players involved. Employees. There's three things that employees can do in VATAS. They can log in, they can change their password, and they can request leave. Everything else for the employee is view only. Someone else takes all of the other actions and the employee can see it, but the only actions that the employee can take are to log in, to change their password, and to request leave. And employees absolutely must request leave in a timely manner. That is part of the culture change that has to happen at most facilities when they are going live on VATAS. That part one of the culture change is that employees must get into the habit of requesting leave before they take it, unless it's unplanned sick leave or some sort of emergency. In those scenarios, we have alternative ways to get that leave in, and we'll talk about those in a few minutes. Employees should verify the accuracy of their timesheets. The first time that employees log in, we would like them to make sure their leave balances are correct. We would like to make sure that their schedule is correct, and they need to double check and make sure their profile is correct. Employees can see all three of these items in their timesheet summary screen. Timekeepers. Timekeepers have by far the most to do in VATAS. They make or break any timekeeping system. Timekeepers are the only ones who can submit a schedule request. If you're at a station that is about to go live on VATAS, that is one of the first activities your timekeepers will be working on, are creating all new schedules for all of the employees who require a schedule. We do not want supervisors approving those schedules, all right? And I'll talk about that again in a couple minutes. As we've already discussed, timekeepers are the only ones who can submit a premium pay request, and a new feature in VATAS that was not available in Vista is that timekeepers can now submit a leave request by proxy. What that means is that the timekeepers can now put a leave request in the system on behalf of the employee if the employee is not available. When would they actually do this? Well, maybe if the employee calls off sick on Timesheet Friday, or if the employee is going to be on extended LWAL or AWOL, where they're going to be gone the entire pay period. Those are a couple examples of when the timekeeper should be used as a proxy. We do instruct the timekeepers that they should have an email or notification from their supervisor letting them know to put a leave request in for a specific employee, for a specific set of days, for a specific set of hours, and for a specific leave type. We're trying to make sure we take any decision-making away from the timekeeper in that scenario, and that the supervisors dictate exactly what that timekeeper should be putting in. We do not want timekeepers making assumptions about what to do with someone else's leave. Timekeepers are the only ones that can apply the TOR, that is the term for posting time. They validate timesheets and submit corrections. Supervisors and TL approvers. If you're not familiar with the term TL approver, that is the name for that second level supervisor. Supervisors and TL approvers approve and or deny requests, premium pay requests, leave requests, but not schedule requests. Again, we do not want supervisors approving schedules. The thought process behind this is that on Timesheet Friday, when you're certifying time, you're not only certifying that the time has been posted correctly, but you are also certifying that the employee's schedule is correct. And you see both of those things on one screen, so it's a great way to kill two birds with one stone. And once we get into this training, I will show you exactly what that looks like from the supervisor and TL approver point of view. Supervisors and TL approvers verify that the timesheet has been posted accurately and then certify the timesheet. Now, we've talked about the culture change that needs to happen regarding the employees. The second part of that culture change that needs to happen at just about every VA facility where VATAS goes live is that supervisors must get into the habit of approving leave daily. Supervisors cannot wait until the end of the pay period to do all of their leave and premium pay approvals. Supervisors, again, need to be logging into the system daily to approve leave. Now, from the VATAS team's point of view, we're not expecting you to approve leave for way down the road in the future. We are more concerned with leave for the immediate time frame, the current pay period. Those are the leave requests from our perspective you need to be working on a daily basis. If you choose to approve leave for dates further out into the future, that is completely up to you, and you can do so. But again, when we say you need to be doing it daily, we are concerned about the immediate time frame. And that, again, is a change at most facilities. That also applies to schedule changes. You need to communicate schedule changes to your timekeepers throughout the pay period. Holding those until the end of the pay period does not do your timekeepers any good. They need to get that information throughout the pay period. Payroll no longer has to transmit timesheets. The VATAS system will process those timesheets. We are now at the login screen for the VATAS training site. It will appear a bit different than the actual login site, which I also will show you. The actual login site will let you know that you are at the correct URL when you see the red splash font saying Attention VATAS Users. This is how you know that you have gone to the correct login screen. I'm going to go back to the training database, and I've already typed in my va.gov email address and password. I will now log in. I will acknowledge the above statements, the Privacy Act, and I am now at the Supervisor main menu. When you log into VATAS, if you have multiple roles, such as the employee role, supervisor role, timekeeper role, TL approver role, etc., you will automatically be logged in and functioning at your highest role. In the scenario on your screen now, the highest role is the supervisor role, and as you can see, we are at the Supervisor main menu. If the supervisor would like to function as an employee, meaning they'd like to look at their own timesheet, submit their own leave request, they can simply click on the Employee tab. If they want to go back to being a supervisor, simply click on the Supervisor tab. This shows how much easier it is to navigate in VATAS compared to Vista. You no longer have to use those up carrots and symbols to go back and forth through the menus. Simply point and click. We do have an inbox with VATAS, and a quick look at this will show emails for different scenarios such as premium pay, leave requests, and timesheets that require certification. Know that you will also receive these emails in your Outlook account, which takes me to our settings. Under settings, the main thing that I want to point out to supervisors here is on the left-hand side where it says User Message Delivery Override. When we click on this, we have 5 categories from leave requests all the way down to TL unit that are defaulted to receiving email notifications for all of the employees that you are both a primary and a backup for. If you find that this is too many emails within each category, you can change this to receiving only primary email notifications, or you could turn the option off completely by selecting Receive No Email Notifications. Ultimately, it is up to each supervisor which emails they do and do not want to receive. Once you have made your changes, you will then save. And we get the note letting us know that our delivery override settings have been saved. Next to the settings is Help. VATAS is a commercial off-the-shelf product that has been heavily tweaked and modified for us at the VA. It continues to be enhanced quarterly to fit our needs at the VA. The Help feature within VATAS gives you more of a commercial off-the-shelf help. We recommend that you, 1, access our VATAS SharePoint site, which I'll show you at the end of this session how to access, or 2, print off and save the Supervisor Training Guide, which is also available at the SharePoint site, and reference that when you have questions going forward. Obviously, when you're finished using VATAS, you will want to log out, and you would press the log out button to do so. Throughout this training, you will not see us use the forward and back buttons in the browser that you see here towards the top left-hand corner of the screen. We will show you various other ways to navigate within VATAS. And one of those ways is to select the the Supervisor tab anytime you want to go back to the Supervisor main menu. We will select the Supervisor tab, and we are now back at the Supervisor main menu. We are back at the Supervisor main menu, and we're going to first get into the Schedule portion of our main menu. Now, first off, I would like to point out that we have 4 links within the Schedule portion. The 2 at the bottom, Schedule Requests and Tours of Duty. We won't be getting into those today because, for one, in the Schedule Requests, remember in the intro I said we do not want supervisors approving schedules any longer. For this reason, we'd like for supervisors to refrain from clicking on the Schedule Request link. The Tours of Duty, if this is something that you would like to take a look at, by all means, you can look through these Tours of Duty, but the Tours of Duty are more important for the timekeepers to understand. When the timekeepers come in to the VATAS computer lab, if you're at a station going live on VATAS, they need to come in with a cheat sheet of the Tours of Duty they will be using to build all of the schedules. And again, this applies for stations that are getting ready to go live on VATAS. So for the supervisors, let's concentrate on the Employee Schedules List View and Employee Schedules Grid View links. We'll begin with our List View. When you click on Employee Schedules List View, it defaults to showing you the current pay period and schedules with a pending status. If they are pending, again, please do not approve them. One more time on the approval process. At the end of the pay period, on Timesheet Friday, when you certify time, you're not only certifying that the time has been posted correctly, but you are also certifying that the schedule is correct. At that point, the employee schedule will no longer be pending. It will show as approved. If you are at a station that is going live on VATAS, in the status dropdown, you will want to keep a close eye on your schedules in a none status. Let's click on none and search. And we are now in none status. By the end of the schedule building days at each station's go live for VATAS, the only employees who should remain with a none status are intermittent and fee basis employees. All other employees must have a permanent schedule. So again, to review, by the end of the schedule building process for any station that is going live on VATAS, the only names that you want to see remaining in the none status are your intermittent and fee basis employees. Notice mine says last name fee, first name basis. You will obviously see your real employees listed in alphabetical order, last name, comma, first name. If you see that you still have schedules and employees in the none status, you will want to reach out to your timekeeper and ensure they know that they are responsible for building all employee schedules. If we use our cancel button, it is not going to cancel out the work that we've done. Rather, it will take us back one screen, and we go one screen back to the Supervisor main menu. So that is an additional way to navigate within the VATAS system. A link that most supervisors really like is the Employee Schedules Grid View. And when we click on Employee Schedules Grid View, this will show you a list of all of the employees that you are either primary and or backup supervisor for, and they will list the employees in alphabetical order. Again, last name, comma, first name, and it will show their current schedule. So if you're looking at the Employee Schedules Grid View, once again, by the end of that schedule building process, if you're at a station going live on VATAS, the only names that you would want to see a blank row beside would be ones like the name right here, the fee basis. Your fee basis and intermittent employees would be the only employees who should have a blank row to the right of their name. When you see the hours column, it tells you how many hours, or in the case of full-time physicians on a day tour, how many days they are required to be scheduled for in any given pay period. If it is in a part-time employee, such as our part-time hybrid, they are coded by HR to work 48 hours per pay period. This means when the timekeeper is building their schedule, they will only be able to build a schedule for 48 hours based off of what HR has coded in HR Smart. It will not allow the timekeeper to build a schedule for more or less hours than what has been coded. And again, we're not talking about extra hours worked. We're talking about the core hours. Notice the full-time physicians. Their tours are made up of day off or day tour. This will always show a default start time of 8 a.m. and a default stop time of 4 p.m. with no meal. It doesn't matter if the full-time physician on a day tour is working 8s, 9s, 10s, 12s, or any other increment. It will always show day tour or day off with those default start and stop times of 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. At the bottom of the screen, it will show you how many total hours you have scheduled to be worked each day of the pay period. If you want to get in and view an employee's schedule more thoroughly, you can simply click on the employee's name. If we want to view Joe employee's schedule, we can click on Joe employee's name. It will show you a list of all of that employee's schedules in VATAS. You would want to look at the most recent schedule. It would show in a pending status if it was created in the current pay period, and it would have an end date of forever. We would click on that schedule name. Everything in blue in VATAS, again, is a hyperlink that you can click. And here, it shows us our schedule. You see that this employee is on a compressed schedule where they work 9s, Monday through Thursday. The first Friday of the pay period is their short 8-hour day, and the second Friday is their compressed day off. Notice, it does not say day off the way it used to in Vista, or the way it shows day off for our full-time physicians on a day tour. The full-time physicians on a day tour are the only employees whose days off will be indicated on their schedule. Another important thing to note here is that in Vista, if a timekeeper built a schedule for an employee, such as the one we are viewing on the screen right now, which is compressed, the timekeeper would have to put the C compressed indicator into that schedule, which would show up on the Vista 8B edit string, showing that that is in fact a compressed schedule. In VATAS, we use something more specific than just that C. We use what is called the AWS code, which stands for Alternate Work Schedule. Again, AWS code stands for Alternate Work Schedule. And these are set by your timekeepers. Payroll also has the ability to change the AWS codes, but the timekeepers are the real ones in charge of making sure each employee has a correct AWS code. The most common AWS codes are 0, 5, 6, and 8. And if you've printed off the Supervisor training guide, you can see the definitions for these in the appendix. Just a quick overview of the AWS codes. An AWS code of 0 would be for the more basic schedules, such as 5 days a week, 8 hours per day, 40 hours per week. It is also used for unusual schedules, such as full-time physicians on a day tour. It doesn't matter how many day tours and day offs they have, they will always have an AWS code of 0. The AWS code 5 is for your SES level employees. The AWS code 6 is a compressed schedule with uneven hours. You can see here that the week 1 total is 44 hours and the week 2 total is 36 hours. They are uneven. Another schedule that would require an AWS code of 6 would be any schedule in which the employee has a crossover tour. And when we say crossover, we mean that that tour begins on one day and ends on another, meaning it goes across midnight. And finally, the AWS code of 8, that is compressed with even hours. An example of when you would use an AWS code of 8 would be if an employee is working 4 10-hour shifts each week. Again, please reference the back of the Supervisor training guides in the appendix for more detailed information on the AWS codes. Here, we see the AWS code is 6, which is correct for the schedule we are currently viewing. If you wanted to go back to the employee schedules grid view, another way to navigate in VATAS is by using these breadcrumbs. if we click on the employee schedules grid view, it takes us right back to that employee schedule grid view. Let's again go back to the Supervisor main menu, and we'll do so by again clicking the Supervisor tab. Once again, we are at the Supervisor main menu. Two links that supervisors must be checking on a daily basis are underneath of the Employees section. And those two links are Employee Leave Request and Employee Premium Pay Request. To review, Premium Pay Requests are those requests that only the timekeepers can submit for the employee to be paid overtime, or to earn comp time, or to earn comp time for travel. Those are just a few examples of premium pay requests. Let's first take a look at our employee leave requests. When you first click on employee leave requests, it will default to showing you all pending requests going back 3 pay periods. So this gives us all of our pending requests going back all the way until December 10th. This initially will show you all pending requests for all employees you are either the primary or the backup supervisor for, listed in alphabetical order. Typically, supervisors are primarily interested in approving leave for the employees they work as the primary for. To narrow this down, all you have to do is in the blue rectangle, go to the supervisor field and type your last name. For this demonstration, our supervisor's last name is in fact Supervisor, so I will type Supervisor and search. And now I am looking at a list of only the pending requests for only the employees for which Bruce Supervisor is in fact the primary supervisor. Now what's important to note here is that you can only search by the name of the primary. So when you are filling out your delegations of authority, or DOAs, as you're filling those out, it is very important to have the correct primary listed in the primary field. There's no difference functionality-wise from within VATAS between what a primary supervisor and a backup supervisor can do, but once again, you can only search by the name of the primary. So if Bruce Supervisor was out of the office and needed their backup supervisor to approve leave for them, the backup would not come to the supervisor field and type their last name. The backup would want to type the last name of the primary and search. We only have 12 results, but if you wanted to see all of your results on one page and you had more than 25 or 50, in the bottom right-hand corner of most of the screens, you see the view 25, 50, 100, and you could select those to view more options on any given screen. You have the option to approve your leave one by one if you wish, and you can do that by simply clicking on the status hyperlink where it says pending. Now before we get into approving or denying these leave requests, there are a few rules that employees need to follow when requesting leave. Now the first rule is that employees should only request leave on the days they actually work. So if I'm a Monday through Friday employee, I would not want to request leave on Saturdays or Sundays. 2, do not request leave outside of your tour of duty. Again, an example, if my schedule is 7 to 3:30, I would not want to request leave from 7 until 4, because that's a half hour outside of my 3:30 end time. And finally, employees should not request leave that spans multiple pay periods. What that means is if an employee is taking leave and it falls in to different pay periods, they need to break that up by pay period. If the employees will not look at the calendar to determine what dates the pay periods run, the easiest way to have your employees request leave is week by week, and that way you never have to worry about it spanning multiple pay periods. What that also means is as soon as you see a leave request for over 80 hours, it should make you question what the employee is doing there. Because if it's over 80 hours, they have most likely either crossed pay periods or requested leave for days they do not work. And we see that here in our very first request for Dana Duty Station Payroll Admin. They've requested 180 hours. Again, to view this individually, we can click on the pending status. And it takes us into that pending request. It tells us the leave type being used by the employee is annual. It tells us their current balance, 120 hours. And you can see here that they've requested time in January, March, and May. Now, especially for the stations that are just going live on VATAS, you will see this a lot, where the employees are going to put in all of their leave on one request. But again, that is not correct. This would need to be broken up by pay period. It is ultimately each supervisor's decision if they want to approve or deny these requests, or just leave them pending. If you deny the request, you must put comments in the approver comments field. You could also leave this request pending and just let the employee know what they need to do to fix the request and move on from there. But again, it is each supervisor's decision to make. So in the comments, if we want to deny this, we could put request by pay period. And now when we scroll to the bottom and deny, leave request successfully updated. It is no longer pending. This request has now been denied. If we want to go back to our leave request, we can simply use the leave request hyperlink. Most supervisors do not want to approve leave one employee at a time. Rather, they would like to be able to go through them all at once. We have 11 records still on our screen. If the supervisor wanted to view and go through all 11, they could put a check in the box next to status. Notice it checks all of the requests. And we could then go to review selected, where we now have the radio button towards the top right-hand corner that tells us this is one of 11 leave requests. We do have the schedule button. This employee has requested leave from February 5th until February 15th, and it comes out to exactly 80 hours. This would be a perfect leave request for an employee on this compressed schedule. If you wanted to confirm the employee's schedule, we can click on the schedule button. Again, we would want to look at the most recent schedule. And here it shows the employee works 7:30 to 4, Monday through Friday of each week. We could then go back to our leave request form using, again, the breadcrumbs hyperlinks. And we see that this employee did not request that leave based off of the schedule we just saw. Maybe the employee thought they were still on a compressed schedule. And they did Monday through Thursday with 36 hours. They correctly did Friday as 8 hours. But then in week 2, they also requested Monday through Thursday as full 9-hour days. Again, the supervisor could either leave this pending, verbally tell the employee what they need to correct, or they could deny it. We will just leave this one pending and we'll go to the next. Here is for 1 day of sick leave, January 31st, 7:30 to 4, 8 hours. This request does match our employee's schedule, so we can scroll to the bottom and approve. Leave request successfully updated, and it even tells you that the leave has been added to the user's timesheet. That is the message you want to see. Notice the leave request is no longer pending. It is now approved. Something that you can do in VATAS that you could not do in Vista is you can now revert a leave request back to pending, meaning you can give it back to the employee, or if the timekeeper has done one by proxy, you can give it back to the timekeeper, and they can then edit or make corrections. At the bottom of the leave request, we now have the options to revert to pending, deny, or cancel. We previously had the option to approve, but once we approved, we now get the option to revert to pending. So if we revert to pending, it gives this leave request back to the employee that submitted it, and it takes the time back off of the employee's timesheet, which is also really good. So that, again, is how you can not only approve, but also revert to pending. Let's arrow. There's another example that I'm wanting to show you, and it's right here. This is for our full-time physician. Full-time physicians on a day tour, they will only have the option to check the all-day box, because when they take leave, it is either all day, or nothing. When they request that leave, it still shows the default start and stop times of 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And it shows their total hours in 8-hour increments. But the important takeaway here is that for each 8-hour increment, they are being charged 1 full day. So when we see 24 total hours, we know that this full-time position is actually being charged 3 days of leave. And their annual leave balance, this is showing 27 days, not 27 hours. If this is good, you can scroll to the bottom and approve. And this is for a future pay period. So we get a little bit of a different message telling us future entries will be populated when the timesheet is created. That means as soon as the pay period opens in which this leave falls, the leave will automatically be on the employee's timesheet. Again, a really nice feature. And as you can see, here is a leave request for an employee that works a crossover tour. This is for our full-time RN. Their tour is 11:30 p.m. until 8 a.m. So they stagger the request one day, where they request 11:30 to midnight, Tuesday through Thursday, and they request midnight until 8 a.m. Wednesday through Friday, because their tour starts on one day and crosses over to the next. Again, 11:30 p.m. until 8 a.m. The request is good and you're ready to approve it. Simply scroll to the bottom and approve. Notice we have an alert. You must provide a reason in the comments field if you're approving FMLA. Why would it make you do this? The reason is because any employee could come down to the Family and Medical Leave Act and check the box that says, I hereby invoke my entitlement to family and medical leave. Any employee can select any type of FMLA. It is up to the supervisors to be the gatekeepers to either approve or deny based off of those that have actually been approved for the FMLA program. So you can just put something as brief as FMLA approved in your comments field. Now, when we scroll to the bottom and we approve, we actually get the message telling us that the leave has been added to the timesheet. Here again is just an example for disabled veterans leave. This is a newer leave type to the VA, so just showing you an example of disabled veterans leave. Again, if the leave is good, you can scroll to the bottom and approve. If you want to go back to leave requests, simply go back to the leave request hyperlink. Another feature many supervisors like is the View Calendar. When we click on View Calendar, this shows you a calendar view with your employees' leave requests. It tells you if those requests are approved, denied, or pending with an A, D, or P in front of them. Another nice feature is that you can actually approve or deny from this screen. Notice that on the 7th, Joe employee has a 2-hour request. We can click on this, and it takes us directly into that leave request where we can either approve or deny. Now, this example is something I wanted to show you. This is for sick leave, and this is in the middle of the day. This is something that would happen a lot in Vista, but it was done differently in Vista. On this day, the employee is going to be gone out of the office from 10:15 a.m. until 12:45 p.m. That's a total of 2.5 hours. Now in Vista, what would probably happen is the employee would have a conversation with their supervisor and they would say, I'm going to be gone for 2.5 hours. I'm not going to take a lunch today, so I'm only putting a leave request in for 2 hours. But that leaves the VA in a bad spot because there's a half hour that does not show the employee was off-site, but in Vista, it would show they were on-site. In VATAS, we can more accurately depict what's going on with our leave requests and timesheets. Here, the employee accurately requests the time from 10:15 until 12:45 p.m. They then enter their 30-minute meal. This prevents them from being charged 2.5 hours of leave, but rather the 2 hours they actually want to be charged. In the remarks, the employee did put, including my lunch and request, will not take a lunch in the office on this day. Those remarks are optional, so the employee didn't have to do that, they just chose to. Also, as we scroll down, sick leave purpose, This says if you're requesting sick leave, you must indicate the reason. Although employees must indicate the reason, none is an acceptable reason, and that is what most employees will leave filled in. So again, the request is good to go. You can scroll to the bottom and approve. Let's again go back to our Supervisor main menu. From the Supervisor main menu, the second link that supervisors need to be checking on a daily basis is the employee premium pay request. Now, if as a supervisor, if you know that none of your employees are working to earn any premium pay requests that the timekeepers would be putting in, you maybe would not need to check this on a daily basis. But if you're not positive about that, again, supervisors do need to be checking employee premium pay requests on a daily basis. When you go in, it again defaults to showing you pending requests going back 3 pay periods. As the supervisor, you are concerned with the premium pay requests which are pending. We're going to talk about this later, but if you're logged in as the second level supervisor, those that are called the TL approver, you're not concerned with the ones that are pending. At that point, you are concerned with the premium pay requests which are in a supervisor approved status. The premium pay requests have different statuses than the leave requests. When the timekeeper submits a premium pay request, it will be pending. When it's approved by the first level supervisor, it will be supervisor approved. And when it's been approved by the TL approver, it will be TL approved. And at that point, it will automatically post to the employee's timesheet. Notice that we have 4 in the current view. Just like the leave request, if you want to watch and look at these one at a time, you can simply click on the pending status hyperlink. When you do so, again, it will show you the employee's name, last name, comma, first name. It will show you the pay type. This specific example is for travel comp time earned on February 10th from 7 a.m. until 4:15 p.m. Notice that this request has a meal time. Premium pay requests will only have a meal time if the timekeeper types it in. All right? Otherwise, there will not be a meal time. The timekeeper also must always fill in a justification. This justification can be as brief or as descriptive as you dictate to your timekeepers, but they must put something in that justification field. You can see here that we have return travel from training. Now, if this is actually a travel comp time earned request, the timekeeper should still be getting that travel comp time form so they know what hours and what days to fill in for the employee. If this request is good to go, you can approve, and we get the note telling us that the premium pay request has been successfully updated. Again, the status has gone from pending to supervisor approved. We did not get any notifications telling us that the time had been added to the employee's timesheet. And that is because that will not happen until these premium pay requests are also approved at a second level. Just like on the leave request, we do have the schedule button on the premium pay request view. And this is because you would want to check the schedule because premium pay requests should not conflict with the employee's regular tour of duty. So you can check that if needed. Let's go back to our premium pay requests. And you can also go through these all at once, just like the leave requests, by selecting them all and then selecting Review Selected. We have the radio button, 1 of 3. This is for overtime callback. Overtime callback. In Vista, when an employee was paid overtime callback, they would put in a blanket 2-hour overtime request. In VATAS, we accurately put the time in. Here was from 7 until 7:30. It was a half hour, but they will be paid the 2-hour minimum. Okay, so again, we're putting in the actual start and stop times in VATAS, unlike Vista. Justification, patient care. We can approve. Premium pay request successfully updated. We can again go to the next. Comp time earned. February 4th, 7 a.m. to 12 p.m., 5 hours. Working DSIPS reports, and we can approve. Premium pay request successfully updated. Now, something that's really nice with these premium pay types, like comp time earned. Once this comp time earned is approved at the second level by the TL approver, it will automatically hit the employee's timesheet, and they will then have it as a usable balance. Oftentimes in Vista, they were lucky if they could use that comp time the next pay period. But again, in VATAS, once it is approved at the second level and hits the employee's timesheet, it will, in real time, show up as a usable leave balance for that employee, where they can then use comp time taken. Let's use our breadcrumb to go back to premium pay requests. And one more feature I would like to show you is we also have a view calendar for our premium pay requests. Notice we have P in front of one that tells us it's pending, but we have SA in front of several others. This is telling us that those are supervisor approved, because that is the status that accurately reflects the premium pay requests. And yes, if you're asking yourself, can we approve from this calendar view? You can. On the 5th, we have a pending request that we can click on, and it takes us right into that overtime unscheduled, February 5th, 4:30 p.m. to 6 p.m., and approve. To get back to our main menu, we can click the Supervisor main menu breadcrumb, and we are back at the Supervisor main menu. Next, under the Employee section, is a link which says Certify All. This is not a link that we're going to cover in our training, and the reason being is we will show you an alternative way to certify your timesheets where you can be more sure that all of your employees will be paid correctly. Now, oftentimes I'm out doing this training face-to-face, and supervisors will excitedly come up to me and they'll ask, is this Certify All button a button that I can push and all of my timesheets will just be certified? And I always tell them, no, that's not what this button is. And two, I'm not sure why you would really want a button that would do that, because that means that you would not be viewing each of your timesheets one by one to make sure they are each correct and that all schedules are correct. So we, again, need supervisors to view all employee timesheets at the end of the pay period and certify them individually, which is what VATAS would make you do anyway. But again, that's just a question that I often get when we're discussing the Certify All button. So for this training, we're going to go ahead and skip Certify All. From the Supervisor main menu, the next link that we will explore underneath of our Employees block is the Select Employees link. When you initially click on Select Employees, it will show you all open timesheets for all employees you are either a primary or a backup supervisor for. Just like we've used the blue search bar in other screens to narrow down our results, we will do so in Select Employees as well. To see only the current pay period, in the pay period dropdown, select the current pay period, which is very easy to distinguish because it's always the second one down and it always has an asterisk beside it. So we select the current pay period and search. And for all supervisors who are at a station going live on VATAS, this is something we want you to do when you first access the system. We want you to go to Select Employees to make sure you see the employees you expect to see. So again, when we just select the current pay period in search, you will see all employees you're either a primary or a backup supervisor for, and they will be listed in alphabetical order. Many supervisors like to work by T&L. In VATAS, we no longer have T&Ls. We now have what is called the TL unit. And you can see that there's a column just for that. Remember, at the beginning of the training, I mentioned that there were over 150 VISTA systems throughout the VA. Well, when it was over 150 VISTA systems, everybody basically had their own VISTA for each station, and a 3-digit T&L would work. But now that we're going to have well over 300,000 employees in one system, that 3-digit T&L will no longer cut it. So we have an expanded view. The first 3 numbers, that is your station. The middle 2 numbers or letters, or a combination of both, that is the duty station. And for many of you who are at the main facility, you will just have 2 underscores indicating your duty station. And finally, the last 3 digits is the T&L, and it will be the T&Ls that you're already used to seeing. You just need to get used to seeing this expanded view. Again, station, duty station, T&L. Once you have seen all of the employees that you're both a primary or a backup for, you want to narrow it down to only the employees that you are the primary for. In the supervisor field, again, type your last name. If you are the primary, if you are a backup, you cannot search by your name. You can only search by the primary's name. And you then search at the bottom. You see we have 1 of 25 out of 33 records. As I previously mentioned, if we want to see all 33 on one screen, we can select the View 50 towards the bottom right-hand corner. And now we have all 33 employees listed in alphabetical order on one screen. If you would expect to see more than 33 or less than 33, as we've previously mentioned, that most likely indicates a problem with the DOA, delegation of authority, not being set up correctly, and you would want to check with your payroll office to see how the delegation of authority is set up. Notice that we have some timesheets which are saved, and we have several that are validated by timekeepers. Once again, in the appendix of the Supervisor Training Guide, there are definitions for these timesheet statuses, but I would like to quickly define them for you now. Any timesheet that is in a saved status, a good way to look at that is that timesheet is still in the timekeeper's hands. As soon as the pay period opens, all of your employees will be in a saved status. Throughout the pay period, as the timekeepers work the timesheets and the supervisors approve leave and premium pay, once everything has been completed, the timekeeper will then validate the timesheets, and they will be validated by timekeeper. There's also several other validated messages that you could see here, and as the supervisor, you're wanting to look for any of those validated statuses, such as validation overridden or validated by employee. And if you have anybody who that would pertain to, you would know that. Once the supervisor certifies, very briefly, the timesheet will have a status of certified. Typically, it will only remain in a certified status for 3 minutes or less. It will then automatically transition to a pre-processed status. And you want to see pre-processed by all of your names by whatever time your payroll office says that timesheets are due on Timesheet Friday. If you see saved by a name, that timesheet has not been completed and it will not transfer to DFAS. If you see validated by someone's name, again, that timesheet has not been completed and it will not transfer to DFAS. You must see pre-processed. When you come back into the office after they have already processed, they will then be in a status of processed. If you need to make any changes at that time, you must do a corrected timesheet. So again, those statuses are also in the back of the book and the appendix of the Supervisor Training Guide, which you can find at our SharePoint site. From the Select Employees screen, you can also view specific information as well as take action on individual employees if you wish. For example, let's say that as the supervisor, we're wanting to look at leave information for Joe employee. We find the employee's name in our list. You put the check in front of the employee's name, and then scroll to the bottom. Underneath of the leave and premium pay header, we have several leave and premium pay categories. Let's look at leave balances. So we will select the leave balances hyperlink. This is a screen that the employees can see for themselves. The timekeepers can see for any employee for which they are a primary or backup timekeeper, and supervisors can obviously see as well. Everyone will see the exact same information. It will show you all leave types. And again, if you have questions about the definitions of any of these leave types or categories, they can be found in the Supervisor Training Guide. A nice feature in VATAS is let's look under the accrued header. In Vista, there was this bad lingo, and sometimes people would say things like, I'm owed a pay period of leave. Well, in Vista, you weren't really owed a pay period of leave. It's just that Vista did not show the accruals up front. The employee could still use them, but it just did not show them what they were earning. In VATAS, as soon as the pay period opens, the employee not only sees what they've earned for that pay period, but they can also use that leave. So a nice feature, a nice upgrade from Vista. Another great feature with the leave in VATAS. if an employee does not have the leave available, they cannot request the leave. For example, I know that in this training database I have over 1,000 hours of sick leave, but let's just pretend I'm an employee who uses their leave as they earn it. And I am going to take sick leave tomorrow, and I work an 8-hour day, but I only have 4 hours of sick leave available. Well, in Vista, I could still request 8, and then I go negative 4 hours. Payroll has to reach out, and they have to tell the employee, timekeeper, supervisor that that needs to be corrected, and it needs to be changed to an available leave type. In VATAS, that problem will be addressed right up front. If I am trying to request 8 hours of sick leave, but I only have 4 available, VATAS will not allow me to submit that request. It would say, you only have 4 available, and it would only allow me to request the 4 I have. The other 4 hours would have to be a different available type of leave. Annual, comp time, travel comp time, and if there's nothing else available, it would need to be LWOP that the employee would request for themselves. Again, notice items such as the comp time for travel. They're official and they are in the system. Nothing is being kept on the side any longer. So we scroll down a little. You see donated leave is even in the system. Anybody watching this training, if you had donated leave employees in the past, you probably had to reach out to payroll every pay period to find out how much donated leave they had. You do not have to reach out to payroll any longer because these balances are updated as payroll receives donations. So again, everything will always display in real time. That's the same for advanced annual and advanced sick. If I'm an employee and I want 40 hours of advanced sick leave, I have to fill out the paperwork requesting it. Once that paperwork has been approved and makes its way to payroll, payroll will then make that a usable balance. At the bottom of this screen, you see tracking leave balances. So the ones at the top, the leave types, they kind of take away from as they're used. At the bottom, these tracking balances, they count up as they're used. And you see things such as LWOP, AWOL, family-friendly sick leave, FMLA. What's nice is that VATAS tracks these for you. VATAS will also cap employees. If they're trying to use a type such as FMLA or family-friendly sick leave, care and bereavement, VATAS will not allow them to request over the VA limit. Also, when an employee hits an 80-hour increment of non-pay, in the past, in Vista, no one really knew what was happening because the employee's leave accruals would disappear. In VATAS, if an employee hits an 80-hour increment of non-pay, in that pay period, they will not earn any annual or sick leave. And in that pay period, on that employee's timesheet summary, there will be a warning message telling them something along the lines of, you are not accruing any leave this pay period because you have hit that 80-hour increment of non-pay. Also, you will see other leave. There's no more authorized absence. A way to look at authorized absence is it was kind of a made-up Vista code. In VATAS, we use the actual DSIPS codes. So anything you would have used authorized absence for in the past, you would now use administrative leave, and that falls into the other category. We'll go ahead and cancel and go back to select employees. From the select employees screen, you can also view one employee's leave calendar and one employee's leave request. We still have Joe employee selected. If we scroll to the bottom, we can look at the leave calendar for just this one employee. Keep in mind that employees can see this calendar for themselves as well. This will show them the current date. It will show any leave or premium pay requests. Notice we have the premium pay indicated by SA. It will show the employee what dates the pay period begins. Pay period 3 begins on February 4th. And it also shows for that specific employee what day their holiday falls on. And you can see the employee sees the big blue box on the 19th. This would tell the employee that that is a day off for them. You can use the drop down to select alternate months. Let's go back to October 2017. Take a look at this and think about if anything looks a little bit off here. How about Columbus Day? Columbus Day is never on Friday, it's always on a Monday. VATAS is not broken. This is actually a really neat feature in VATAS. in pay period 20, Joe employee was on a compressed schedule where they already had Monday the 9th off. So it shows the supervisor and the employee which direction their holiday moves based off of VA policy. And it does move these holidays, again, based off of VA policy. So they would know that their holiday went back to Friday as opposed to moving forward to a different day. To get back to the Select Employees, we can use the Select Employees link. If you want to view one employee's leave requests, again, we still have our Just Joe employee selected with the check in the checkbox. And if we scroll to the bottom, we can select Leave Requests. This is a good way for supervisors to view one employee's leave requests. Again, it defaults to pending, going back 3 pay periods. We could change that status to all and search, and it would show us all requests going back 3 pay periods. You can obviously edit these from and to dates to fit whatever date range you are wanting to view, and you can get into these leave requests this way as well. And again, this would be to view one employee's leave requests as opposed to viewing all of your employees that you are a primary for. Notice that they're all approved, just like we did when we were working with leave requests earlier. You can click on the status if you need to open one up to take any action. Because it's approved, the only actions you would have available would be to revert to pending, deny, or cancel. And we're just going to leave that approved for now. To go back to Select Employees, we can use the Select Employees link. And finally, to view one employee's premium pay requests. Once again, we still have Joe employee checked, and at the bottom, we select premium pay requests. And just like before, defaults to pending. We can change it to all and search, and now it shows all of those premium pay requests. Notice that we have several that are TL approved. That means it has been approved by both the supervisor and the TL approver. Let's take a look. Here we have comp time earned, and it has been approved. In the status indicator, we see that by the circle under TL approved being filled in. At the bottom, the supervisor, though, also has the option to revert to pending. So if a premium pay request has been submitted and approved by both levels of supervisors, it does not have to be that second level supervisor that reverts it to pending if something needs to be changed or edited on that premium pay request. The first level supervisor can do so as well. Let's go back to the top, and we'll use our breadcrumb to go back to Select Employees. Once again, we are back at the Select Employees menu, narrowed down to the current pay period in the pay period dropdown. Throughout the pay period, as the supervisor, if you want to take a look at your employees' timesheets to see what's going on, to take a look at those error messages that the timekeeper is primarily responsible for resolving, but some of those error messages on any given timesheet could be the supervisor's responsibility to resolve as well. I've currently selected Emily employee by putting a check in front of their name, as well as the intermittent RN by putting a check in front of their name. Once we scroll to the bottom, if we click on Timesheet Summary, this is a great place for supervisors to review and see what's going on with their employees' timesheets. So we select Timesheet Summary. Once again, we have the radio button, 1 of 2. Last name, employee. First name, Emily. Now, when we look at these error messages, again, every one of these errors is a hard fail. They must all be resolved before the timekeeper can validate this timesheet and before the supervisor can obviously certify the timesheet. Notice the first error. It says there is a pending leave request. Remember, that goes all the way back to that culture change. Supervisors must get into the habit of approving leave on a daily basis. If this leave is not approved or denied, so if no action is taken on this leave request, this timesheet will not be able to leave the timekeeper's hands. All right? And it will not be able to transmit to DSIPs. That would result in the employee not being paid. Notice there's also warning messages on these timesheet summaries, and the employees can see this. The employees see the errors as well, but again, the errors are not there for the employee to really resolve. That's for the timekeeper and supervisor. But this warning the employee would want to read it. It lets them know that they have some comp time for travel that's going to expire in pay period 5. So it's giving them 3 pay periods of a heads up that you will have some comp time for travel that will expire, so you probably want to use it. As we look at this timesheet summary, you also see telework regular and telework ad hoc situational has been coded. It is a very highly auditable item in the VA right now to make sure that schedules and timesheets reflect when employees telework. If they telework the same days, pay period after pay period, the timekeepers would want to build that into the employee's schedule, and it would show up as the telework regular. If it is situational, meaning it varies pay period to pay period, they obviously would not want to build that into the permanent schedule, but they can post it to the timesheet as telework ad hoc situational as it occurs. But bottom line, that telework and that telework ad hoc need to be on the timesheet on the correct days. If we go up to the top, we can arrow to our next employee, the intermittent RN. Notice there is an error here telling us the weekend premium code is required on 127. The employee is entitled to weekend premium under Public Law 111-163. So what I'm trying to show you here is that on Wednesday, January 27th, with our intermittent employees, the timekeepers post time by using the Add Work Time button. So if they had clicked Add Work Time on the Saturday and posted that time as RG regular graded pay, that would not be correct. This intermittent RN is entitled to Saturday pay. And you can see that VATAS catches that. It gives the timekeeper an error. It tells them what day that error is on. And it even tells them what is determining that that needs to be changed. And in this case, it's saying they're entitled to that weekend premium under Public Law 111-163. So again, this is just a couple examples of how you can monitor and view your employees' timesheets throughout the pay period to make sure everything's being posted. And remember, we want timekeepers to post the day after. So on Monday, they would post for Sunday. Tuesday, they would post for Monday, and so on. When you check your timesheets, that is what you're looking for. You do not want your timekeepers waiting until the end of the pay period to do all of their timekeeper work. They need to be working these timesheets throughout the pay period. So let's again use our breadcrumb to go back to select employees. We are once again back to our select employees sorted by the current pay period. Now let's get into certifying timesheets as supervisors. We've already discussed what the timesheet statuses mean, and currently our list is in alphabetical order. If you wanted to view your timesheets and your employees in order by timesheet status, all of these headers in gray from pay period all the way to supervisor are sortable. So if we click on the timesheet status header, the timesheets are no longer in alphabetical order, but they are now in order by timesheet status, where the saved timesheets are listed first and the validated are listed at the bottom of the screen. You could put a check in front of all of the validated to then certify those timesheets. You must still be aware of all of the saved timesheets. As we've already discussed, a timesheet in a saved status will not transmit to DSIPs, and therefore those employees would not be paid if their timesheets were to remain in a saved status. This is one of the big reasons why I like to show supervisors to certify from the Select Employees menu rather than by using the Certify All button. Because when you click Certify All, you will not see any of the employees in a saved status. In my opinion, the ones that are in a saved status are just as important as the ones that are validated. Because why is it still saved? Does the timekeeper need me as the supervisor to approve some leave, to approve some premium pay? Do they have a question for me about whether that employee was in the office or not? But whatever the case may be, we need to get all of those timesheets out of the saved status, get them validated, and then certified. If you only want to view your validated timesheets, you can use the Timesheet Status drop-down, select All Validated, and search. And now we have only our validated timesheets. We can use the check mark by pay period to select all of our timesheets. So we have all 5 selected. And towards the bottom left, we will select Certify Selected. When we click Certify Selected, we automatically have 1 of 5 timesheets showing. It tells you the employee's name, last name, SES, first name, director. Remember earlier in the training, I said that you would see the timesheets and the schedules all on one screen, and this was a way to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You're not only certifying that the time has been posted correctly in the timesheet, but you are also verifying that the employee's schedule is correct. And here is the schedule at the bottom of the page. Now notice, there is AWOL posted on this employee's timesheet. AWOL is one of a very few select leave types that does not require a leave request. However, if there is AWOL on a timesheet, when the supervisor goes to certify, and as we scroll down this timesheet, you'll see any remarks that the timekeeper has left. You'll see a summary of any leave and premium pay requests. You'll see a small snippet of the employee's leave data, as well as their timesheet profile. Now, that's not necessarily something you need to look at every single time you're certifying timesheets, but in these action remarks at the bottom, when there is AWOL, you must acknowledge that AWOL. So we'll just put AWOL approved, and we will then certify. It tells us the timesheet has been certified, and it automatically takes us to our second employee. Notice this is a wage grade employee. So what's different on this timesheet is you see first and second shift. Wage grade are your employees who will be coded as first and second shift. If you would see that on a different type of employee's timesheet, that would not be correct. Once again, we have the schedule at the bottom. If everything looks good to go, as the supervisor, you can scroll to the bottom and certify. It has now taken us to our third timesheet. This is for the full-time physician. Remember, their schedules are made up of days off and day tours. So they get paid for 14 days regardless of the amount of day tour and day offs they have scheduled into their entire schedule. A new feature that was not able to be indicated in Vista is the in lieu of holiday earned. Now, Friday, January 26th was not a holiday, so let's just use our imaginations here. And let's pretend that Friday the 26th was a holiday and that our full-time physician worked on that holiday. They would receive an in lieu of holiday earned, which they would then have 90 days to use. When they use that, the timekeeper would then indicate it on their timesheet, as you see on the 2nd of February, in lieu of holiday used. Again, a feature that was not available to us in Vista, but we do have in VATAS. We see our full-time physician schedule. You want to take a look at it to make sure it's accurate, and you can then scroll to the bottom and certify. Timesheet has been certified. Here's another example. This is a fee-based timesheet. These are the dollar amounts. The timekeepers have to get these dollar amounts down to them somehow. So however you've transmitted that data down to your timekeepers in the past, I would recommend that's how you still get that information to your timekeepers regarding how much needs to be posted on each day. Once all the funds have been posted, the timekeeper will validate, and we as the supervisor will scroll to the bottom and certify. And finally, our fifth timesheet. This is for a full-time RN. Now notice there's a little bit more going on this timesheet, and the reason, if we scroll down, is because we can see that this full-time RN works a crossover tour, 11:30 p.m. until 8 a.m. Tuesday through Saturday. Now, a couple things I want to point out here that are great features in VATAS is, for example, on the first Friday of the pay period, the employee comes in at 11:30 p.m. on that Friday, and they work until 8 a.m. Saturday. This is a Title 38 RN. This means they get that Saturday pay on the half hour from Friday. But guess what? The timekeepers do not need to remember that in VATAS. As long as the employee is coded correctly in the HR Smart system, when the timekeeper posts time, it will recognize that rule, and it will automatically post that employee for 30 minutes of Saturday pay on Friday, going into the remainder of Saturday pay on Saturday until 8 a.m. VATAS also recognizes that the employee hits the qualifier to receive night diff pay for that entire time frame. And the reason being, with our Title 38 on this full-time RN, as long as they work 4 or more hours during the night diff time frame, which is 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. consecutively, they get night diff for the entire tour of duty. And again, this is something that the timekeepers do not need to remember in VATAS. It has automatically posted that night diff for the employees. So we can scroll to the bottom. We can certify. Timesheet has been certified. Now let's go back to our select employees. And we no longer have any timesheets in a validated status because we have now certified them all. If we change our status back to all and search, notice our saved timesheets are still at the top, and at the bottom we have 4 that are pre-processed and 1 that is certified. That last one that we just certified, it still shows in a certified status. And remember, the reason is because timesheets will show in a certified status very briefly after you certify them. Typically, only 3 minutes or less. The ones that we had already certified first, they have already flipped to the pre-processed status, and within just a couple minutes, the full-time RN timesheet will automatically flip to pre-processed status as well. And again, that is the status you want to see by all of your employee names by whatever time payroll has dictated on Timesheet Friday that your timesheets are due. So again, this is how we certify time from select employees. We are once again back at the Supervisor main menu. Remember, we're currently doing this training out of a demo site, so I can't show you a ton of data in the reports, but I would at least like to show you how to run reports. Underneath of the reports block, we will click on the reports link. And this shows you all of the canned reports that are available for supervisors. A really great report that you want to use is the unposted leave and premium pay requests. This would give you results of leave and premium pay that was requested and approved after the pay period had closed. If it's requested and approved after the pay period closes, obviously it would need a corrected timesheet to make its way into that employee's DSIPS account and to pay that employee that overtime or to update their leave if the corrected timesheet is a change in leave, whatever the case may be. But we're just going to do this for our station, which in our demo site is 327, the duty station, AB, and our TL code 008. I then run report. If you want the report to be exported as a PDF, in Excel, HTML, or CSV, rather than clicking Run Report in the bottom left, click on that format. So let's say we want this as an Excel. We'll click Excel, and we get the message telling us that the report has been scheduled to run immediately in the background. You'll receive a notification message when it is complete, and the results will appear on the My Saved and Scheduled Reports page. So let's go back to the Supervisor main menu, and underneath of the Reports block, we now will click on the My Saved and Scheduled Reports. And the unposted leave and premium pay report is now available to download. When you download that report, again at the bottom, you can either open, save, whatever you need to do with this. We open, and again, we chose an Excel format, so it's going to give us that report in an Excel spreadsheet. Again, this is the training database, so we don't have any results that are available, but this is a report that you all would want to run. One of the recommendations I have is that when you actually get access to VATAS, go into those reports and play around running those for your employees. You'll start to get a feel for what information you can and cannot generate in these reports. After you've ran your reports and you've extracted all data that you need, please delete these. You can either delete them one by clicking the X box under delete. It will ask if you're sure. You can select yes. Or you can put the check in front of the report and select delete. And again, it will ask you if you're sure, and you can select yes. Let's use our Supervisor tab to go back to our Supervisor main menu. From the Supervisor main menu, the final 2 links that we want to explore is continuation of pay and part-time positions. Let's first select COP recipients. Hopefully, as a supervisor, this is not something you're going to need to look at, because if you have employees that show up underneath COP recipients, that means that they have unfortunately been injured at work. Should that happen to you, this is a view-only menu. It will tell you the employee's name, the injury number, the date of injury, the status of that COP case, whether active or terminated, if the employee has a return to work date, and the amount of COP used to date. What's important to know is that the timekeepers are responsible for posting the date of injury as well as any subsequent usage of COP. So this COP recipient setup will be done by payroll once they have that COP paperwork. At that point, your timekeepers can then post that date of injury and any subsequent usage of COP. Once again, for the supervisors, this is a view-only menu. We'll use our Supervisor tab to go back to our Supervisor main menu. And finally, part-time positions, memos of service level expectations. This is again a view-only menu for the supervisors, and this would be for any of your part-time adjustable physicians. In Vista, they were often known as ESRs, but this would show you the employee's name, the memo status, the start and end dates. Once again, this is view only for the supervisors, and this is just for those part-time adjustable physicians. Let's again use our Supervisor tab to go back to the Supervisor main menu. We have logged out of the training database at the Supervisor role, and we have now logged back in as a TL approver. Again, the TL approver is the second level supervisor. And once again, when you log in and have multiple roles, you're automatically functioning at your highest role. This specific employee is a TL approver, supervisor, and everybody, of course, is an employee. So they automatically are functioning at the TL approver role. Now, when we look at this TL approver main menu, we see a lot of links. It looks very similar to what we see at the supervisor role. I only want to point out one link out of this entire TL approver menu, and that link is the employee premium pay request. Remember, the corrected timesheets no longer need that second level supervisor to certify, which means the main function we need TL approvers for is to do the second level approval of premium pay requests. So when we select employee premium pay requests, it defaults to showing us all supervisor approved premium pay requests. Remember, when the timekeeper submits that premium pay request, it is in a pending status. And when we were logged in at the supervisor role and we went to our premium pay request, it defaulted to showing us pending requests. But as the TL approver, you're not really worried about those pending requests because you can't do anything with those until they are in a supervisor approved status. And that is the reason this defaults to showing you supervisor approved. To approve these, again, you can either click on the status or you can select them all and go down to the bottom and review selected. Here we have for travel comp time earned, February 10th, 7 a.m. to 4:15 p.m. Justification, return travel from training. If we approve this, the premium pay request was successfully updated, and now it tells us that the time will be added to the timesheet when the timesheet is created. If this were for a current pay period premium pay request, it would tell you right then that the time had been added to the employee's timesheet. Because unlike Vista, in VATAS, when our leave and premium pay are approved, they automatically post to the timesheet. We go to the second one. Here again, comp time for travel earned, and if we approve, the premium pay has been added to the user's timesheet. Okay, so just to show you the two different messages that you could receive here. Let's go back to our TL Approver main menu. We have logged out of our training site, and we are now back at the login page for the real VATAS site. Once again, you know you're at the correct site when you see the red splash font that says Attention VATAS Users. The final item that I'd like to point out in this VATAS Supervisor and TL Approver training is our SharePoint site. Notice that we have a link to the SharePoint site on the VATAS login page. I'll click the VATAS SharePoint portal, and this will take us to the VATAS SharePoint homepage. Should you ever need to have a timekeeper take a makeup training, here towards the top right-hand corner of our homepage, we have the VATAS training calendar. Notice that on Tuesdays in February, we will have makeup training for timekeepers. The start time of this training is staggered to account for timekeepers throughout the country. We also have some makeup supervisor sessions on Thursday. So again, if you have new timekeepers or new supervisors at your station, or if you're at a station going live and your timekeepers and supervisors are not able to attend the face-to-face training, this is a great area to have them sign up for the makeup sessions. Towards the top left-hand corner, we have payroll, timekeepers, supervisors. We have pages of our SharePoint dedicated to those users. So as supervisors and TL approvers, we would be interested in the supervisor and TL approver page. Any document that we think would be helpful to you as a supervisor and or TL approver, we have attached down the right-hand side. Notice this is where you can download the training guide. We are currently on version 16.0. We are doing enhancements to VATAS quarterly, and as we do those enhancements, we update the training guides. So this is where you could come to print off that new version of your supervisor training guide. We have videos that will help you. You're currently listening to the full-length supervisor training, but down this left-hand side, we have a bunch of quick-hit videos that are 3 to 5 minutes long that could help you with things such as employee leave requests. Oftentimes, you have dual monitors. It's helpful to watch one of these videos in your right-hand monitor while you have VATAS open in your left-hand monitor and you just follow along. It provides a lot of great help and insight into VATAS. And again, this is our VATAS SharePoint site, and we encourage you to visit this often. Thank you for participating in the VATAS Supervisor and TL Approver training. We look forward to working with you.